advice on how to maintain your vehicle, or even just someone that appreciates a good travel story, this show is for you. We'll be covering everything from automotive repairs to electric vehicles, car AC systems, and even dirt bike racing. So get ready to buckle up and join us on this ride. And I have two very important guests with us today. And they, one also knows a huge amount about cars because Amanda's been a service advisor. She's been a store manager. She's been a district manager of automotive repair shops, and now a co-owner of automotive repair shops. And that's Amanda with C&C Automotive. She loves people, she loves cars, and she loves going fast. She rides the dirt bikes also. Amanda, welcome to the show.
Glad to be here.
Yeah, you have been here before, and that and it is glad to have you back. And this is a special time for us because along with being here, you have Ryder here. Amanda's son, Ryder Drake, is here with us. And Ryder, he's been racing dirt bikes for several years, and he recently qualified for a national race at Loretta Lynn's Ranch. And that's awesome. And here's the kicker now. Ryder is 7 years old. Awesome. And Amanda, I know that y'all went to watch him in the qualifying race recently. How did that go?
It was quite a range of emotions. His first race, he came out with some really fast laps and looked like he was going to do really well for the weekend. And then the second day, rained the whole day and very deep mud. So Ryder is on a PW50, which we'll get into a little bit more about his bike. But it's a very small dirt bike, so that deep mud made it very challenging. But he pulled it off, and he's one of only 40 bikes to qualify to go to Loretta Lynn's National Motocross Championship in his class.
And Ryder, what was it like to be on the motorcycle and in the race to be qualifying for the Loretta Lynn Ranch race? All right. What were you thinking about on the motorcycle as you was going around the track?
Winning and going fast.
All right, winning and going fast. All right, well, that's the way to do it. Amanda, there's no question that there's been a lot of time involved in getting Ryder to this point. He's done a fantastic job of jumping in, racing, doing great with the racing side, but I know to do that he needs a lot of support to be able to do that. And of course you have things that you doing with the automotive shops, managing shops, and then also you have daughter Taylor. And matter of fact, she was at dance school, a graduation dance school last night. How do you how do you allow for the time that you do to make all this work? How do you set a schedule to make you able to go to the races, do the work here, and work with Taylor as far as her going to the dance schools and all the other things involved in having a family?
Well, it takes a lot of preparation and scheduling weeks and months in advance. In order to make the races, we normally have to travel, and it might be an hour or two away, it might be 6 hours away, and we obviously have to have everything with us to camp, food and supplies, and then everything we need to maintain the bikes and get them race ready. So it's a lot of preparation, a lot of scheduling, a lot of sacrifices. Ryder has missed a few birthday parties that he would love to have gone to for his friends to race. And we normally go see the Supercross race in Atlanta every year. I haven't missed one in 8 years, and we missed it this year in order for him to continue to race. So it's a lot of sacrificing, but we love it, and he loves it, and we're going to continue to do it.
And Ryder, how did you get started in racing, dirt bike racing?
We put Ryder on since he was one, he loved anything with wheels, and specifically anything with wheels and a motor. So when he was about 1 year old, he had the smallest Power Wheels, little four-wheeler that they make. And by the time he was 2 years old, he was riding a dirt bike with training wheels. And I believe those were off before he was 4 years old. And really, it's a passion. My husband and his dad has raced and rode for many years. I started riding about 8 years ago. We all ride as a family. You ride with us as well.
I do. Yes.
And so it's kind of been in his blood since he was little, but you could tell very early on that he really loved it. And so he only started racing seriously within the last, I would say, 6 to 8 months. And he's just done way better than we ever could have thought.
He's come a long way in that period of time. One thing I did want to mention is that this show today is about a lot of other things, along with answering automotive questions, which you can still call 800-224-9090. We'll be talking about dirt bike racing, but also racing in general. If someone has something that they race, whether it's go-karts, dirt bikes, street bikes, drag cars, dirt cars, this show is about racing today. So if someone out there wants to call in, mention something that they race or enjoy doing, give us a call, because there's so many things now that are so popular now. Rock crawling, just a list of things. So give us a call and mention something that you may work with. But also, again, we're answering automotive questions, because Amanda's awesome at that too, because Amanda has worked in the automotive shops since
It's been a long time.
It has been a long time, so we won't get into that too much then. But yes, Amanda has worked in automotive shops a long time and has answered a huge amount of questions having to do with cars when people call in. So give us a call. That number is 800-224-9090 if you got a question about your car, truck, your SUV, or a question about dirt bike riding. And also, I would like to ask Ryder, what's it like to be going around the track at high speeds? You're racing, you're trying to catch the next person or trying to hold on to your lead. What's that feel like to be running around the track like that in a big race?
It feels fun and I like it. It feels good and I like it.
Oh, you do like it? All right, now, how many different type bikes do you ride?
A P-Up and an e-bike and a Cobra Tube. And I have another bike, but I still don't race it because I'm not old enough to race it yet. And it's a Cobra Senior.
Yeah, so he has a Yamaha PW50 bike that he qualified for nationals on. That's the smallest class. It's a 50cc shaft-driven class. And then he has a Cobra Junior. That's a 50cc two-stroke dirt bike. And so the PW50 can reach about 30 miles per hour, I believe. And then a Cobra Junior can do about 45 miles per hour. And like you mentioned, he also has an e-bike that he races.
An e-bike. We'll have to talk a little bit more about that, because that's something that's coming. Okay, we are. Let me see. I'm here with Amanda and Ryder, and we're sharing automotive tips. We're answering automotive questions. We're talking about racing and performance. Give us a call, 800-224-9090. That's 800-224-9090, and that's on any Saturday morning, 8 to 10. We'll be right back. And we welcome you back to the C&C Auto Show. And if you have a question about your car, your truck, your SUV, or a dirt bike, or any other type of racing vehicle, you give us a call. Number is 800-224-9090. We will go to the phones. We'll go over to Ron. And Ron, welcome to the C&C Auto Show, and what can we help you with?
Look, Aaron, since y'all are talking two-stroke, I'm thinking about cleaning up my engine on my lawnmower. Do you think it would be safe to run like they suggest on the Seafoam bottle? Now, I don't see it specifically for two-stroke, but to put it in my crankcase and run it for a while before I change the oil. Seafoam.
Yes, well, Berryman makes a product that would work very well for that. You can go in. Berryman makes not only a product that you can put in that cleans the gas and conditions the gas, but it will also clean the injection system through there also. Now, also, if this was a vehicle professionally, I use a BG product that would go through and do that at a professional repair shop on a car. But on a product like that, the Berryman, now Seafoam is good. You can also use that, but Berryman makes a product also that you can go in and pour that into the fuel, and it will help. It will burn through. It will help keep the system clean. So yes. That would be a great idea to do also. And with something like that, what's good about it is you can, if the gas has been sitting up for a long period of time, you can get rid of the old fuel and then put some new fuel in there and then put the additive in there, and that will do a great job on cleaning everything out.
Yeah, I was just concerned, Aaron, that it would thin the oil out too much because it takes 30 weight oil. And I just I didn't want to do any damage to the motor. But now, this Berryman's product, is it specifically for crankcase?
Yes, Berryman makes a product that's made for a crankcase. You can pour it in the oil, and you can run it for a period of time, and then you can change the oil out again, and that will keep the system, it'll keep it lubricating, but also it will clean the debris out. But you do want to change it at the recommended time. It mentions on the can how far or the length of time you should run something before changing the oil out again, because you want to get all of that out of there. Because you're right, it does cut some of the lubrication on it. As it's cleaning, because it's a thinner, more of a cleaning product. But then once you do that, you want all of that out of there anyway, all the debris that it breaks loose, and then changing it makes it to where everything is fresh inside there again. So yes, the Berryman product, they make a product that's for oil.
Okay, and so when I put it in, before I change the oil, how long should I run it? Or is all that instructions on the can?
Yeah, it's on the instructions. I can tell you on a vehicle what they normally recommend, but on something like that, I wouldn't be able to tell you that length of time. I think it's my guess it would be something like several minutes to get it to clean, and then getting the debris out of there. But all that would be on the instructions on the can.
Okay, that sounds great. Aaron, I know you're an important man in Augusta, Georgia, and you got pull in a lot of these businesses. When you buy the PB Blaster or the with the 24D. I mean, not 24D. The different cleaners like that, like the penetrants and stuff. They come in such large cans, and they put these new mechanisms on there where you can, get more or less spray out of it. And I've noticed that's all that's available is in the large cans, especially with PB Blaster. And me being not a professional mechanic, it'll sit on the shelf for a while. Mm-hmm. I've had an old WD-40 can that still sprays from the 40s. but these new cans, when I get them and they spray, it's only good for so many months, and then the propellant or whatever is in it, it dies out, and I can't get anything out of it.
Yeah.
So if they can make a PB blaster, especially the PB blaster, in a small can, I'd appreciate it if you could pass that on.
Yeah, I could definitely pass that on. But I found that most every type of spray can, it does not seem to last. The propellant does not seem to last as long as it should. Now, my rough guess is it's going to have something to do with the environment, things that they're trying to do to conserve the environment, because it used to be refrigerant used to be the best thing that they could use, and that would keep the nozzle clean, and it would last for a longer period of time. But as they change to different type refrigerants or propellants for that, then my guess is it's probably not as effective. Like many other things that we're trying to go green to, we use it because it helps the environment, but it may not necessarily work as good as it used to, as some of the other things did. So that I could definitely pass that along, though, because there may be some things that putting the Pro Straw on a smaller can may be a very helpful advice for them. So I think that's great.
Yeah. And I think it would sell more product, because the average guy like me, I mean, you guys in a profession, y'all will go through a big can in no time, whereas me, it may take a year. And it's like I said, I've had an old can of WD-40, and for my gun cleaning stuff that has propellants in it, I mean, I've got cans that's, I know, well over 10 years old, and it still works. But this new stuff, it maybe lasts 6 months, and that's it. But it goes, like you were saying, it's all with control with this EPA. Who would have thought that in the 21st century you could buy a new automobile and it could be totally condemned in an accident, just in a pothole?
Yeah, that is true.
Look, you guys, y'all have a great weekend and make her safe.
Hey, Ron, thank you. We appreciate it also. Okay, the number to call, 800-224-9090. We'll be right back after this. And we are back with you with the C&C Auto Show. If you have a question about your car, your truck, your SUV, or dirt bike racing, or any other form of transportation, any other form of racing, you give us a call. The number to call is 800-224-9090. We're here with Amanda and Ryder, and they are answering automotive questions and dirt bike questions because Ryder has been doing very well on the dirt bike circuit. He has qualified for the Loretta Lynn race, and we'll be talking to Amanda very shortly and getting some ideas on what's involved on being able to qualify that. But before we do, we will head over to Mike. Mike, welcome to the C&C Auto Show, and what can we help you with?
Good morning. I recently had the rear tires on my car replaced. Mm-hmm. The technician told me that he believed I needed new shock absorbers based on the wear on the tires. I haven't noticed anything wrong with the ride of the car, so I guess my simple question is, how do I know if I need new shock absorbers or not?
All right, excellent question. And what year, make, model car is it, and how many miles?
It is a 2017 Genesis with about 160,000 miles on it.
Okay. All right. Now, the way you can test on a vehicle like that, on testing the shocks or struts on there, is very similar to how we checked them many, many years ago. And that is to push up and down on the either the front of the vehicle or the back of the vehicle and see how much it bounces. Some vehicles you can't run this test with, like if it was a four-wheel drive truck or a heavy-duty suspension truck, you can't push it down to tell how much it's going to bounce. But on that vehicle, you normally can. And if it goes up and then rests back down to the same spot, they're not bad in that way. But if you push them down and it bounces up and down a couple of times, then they are weak. The second way is looking at them, see if there's any fluid around the shock absorber or the strut. If you see fluid, that's a sign that it's been leaking and it would need to be replaced that way. So if both of those are good, now many years ago we used to recommend doing shocks or struts, and many years ago it was 30,000 miles, and then it moved up to 60. But now it's like a lot of other things on the vehicle. You run into some cars with 200,000 miles, still got the original ones. So if they check out good, I would not replace them. Now I did miss one thing. If those tires do have a cupping wear pattern, if the old tires that were on it originally been on there some miles, if they're cupping in and out, that's also a sign that it could need struts. And of course swaying going around turns, or if you hit a speed bump and it bounces up and down a lot, that's another sign. So you got to figure the shock absorber or the struts are there to hold the wheel on the road and keep it from bouncing up and the vehicle just bouncing up and down. It absorbs the shock of the vehicle. So if all those are good, though, I don't automatically say replace a shock or a strut at a preset time. I would do it if it's needed.
Thanks for the advice.
Oh, we appreciate it, and good luck with that. And it sounds like you're taking care of that vehicle. Have a fantastic day. Okay, we were talking to Amanda and Ryder, and they were discussing racing. And one of my questions had to do with the Loretta Lynn race. I was hoping to know a little bit more about that. Amanda, how long has the Loretta Lynn racing area been around, and why do so many people try to be able to race out there at that location?
So Loretta Lynn, obviously a country singer, had a huge passion, her and her husband, in motocross. And so her ranch, which is about an hour outside of Nashville, Tennessee, has just over the course of about 40 years, I think she started doing it in 82, just became one of the premier races in this sport. And so the qualifying process actually starts at the beginning of every year, and they hold about 40 plus area qualifiers at tracks across the U.S. And even international riders come to compete at those races. And from those races, they take 9 racers in each class, and they qualify to go to regionals, which is the race that Ryder just competed at last weekend. And so about 80 plus bikes in each class show up to the regionals, and there's 6 regional races across the U.S. And out of those 6 regional races, they only take 6 bikes. So the top 6 bikes in each class can then qualify to go to Loretta Lynn's ranch in 2 months for the National Motocross Championship. So that's about 40 bikes in each class. It's huge. You'll see a lot of the individuals that place in the top 3, top 5, top 10 even. They are the ones that normally go on to become pro racers. And so it's a huge honor to be invited to race there. And it does normally show signs or promise for racers of future success in racing.
Wow. Ryder, what do you feel like the hardest part is about racing dirt bikes?
Balancing and jumping probably is those are the hardest things that I can basically think of.
So controlling your balance as you're riding?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he has to, for a 7-year-old or whenever they start, controlling the throttle, the brakes, while you're balancing on 2 wheels, and your speed and passing and also jumping. I mean, it's a lot for for little kids to be able to control all at the same time.
Ryder, I heard you talk about before going to different people or training areas to learn how to ride better. Is there a lot of preparation involved in being able to not only get on a dirt bike and race, but get on a dirt bike and win a race? Do you go to different places for training?
I go to Next Level, south of the border, and
So yeah, he sees Jessica Patterson helps him out at Next Level a couple times a month. Usually, he has trained
every Wednesday.
Yep, every Wednesday, pretty much. He is at Next Level, which is about a 2-hour drive for him. So he drives 2 hours to practice about once a week, and he races pretty much every weekend. He's racing.
Wow, that sounds like a lot involved in doing the racing. What's involved in getting the bikes ready for the race?
He turns it over to Daddy.
That's what I was thinking. Your dad helps you a lot with that, don't he?
What's some of the stuff you do, Ryder, to get ready?
I put on all my safety gear, my knee pads, and my helmet, my goggles, and my clothes that I wear for dirt bike riding, and
Do you have something that goes over your chest?
yeah.
Okay, chest protector.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. Okay.
And
Do your warm-up exercises?
I do my warm up, and
Do you try to eat any certain type of food, or you just
before I go out, I drink some Mountain Dew, and
you drink a lot of Mountain Dew, huh?
Yeah, it helps to load them up with sugar before they go out. That does help. But he also usually has a big breakfast with fruit, protein, like bacon or sausage, and he drinks lots of fluids before he goes out, especially in a hot race.
Fantastic. Hey, we're gonna need to pull over. We just got a caution flag, so we're gonna pull over for just a little bit. Before we go, though, I'm gonna read out a tech tip quiz. I neglected to read our tech tip quiz a little earlier. We were having a few little technical issues here doing the show at a different location. So I'll mention, here it is. Clay had at a car that his vehicle would not get cold at speeds between 10 and 20 miles per hour. It got nice and cold at speeds above 30. The cooling fans were working. He found the problem on the night before Memorial Day. What was wrong with the vehicle? And if you know the answer, give us a call, 800-224-9090. We'll be right back. And we do welcome you back to the C&C Auto Show. If you have a question about your car, your truck, your SUV, you give us a call. I'm here with Amanda, and I'm here with Ryder. We're answering automotive questions. We have a tech tip quiz laying on the table. I'll mention that again, and that is Clay had a vehicle. It was actually a Crown Vic that would not get cold at speeds between 10 and 20 miles per hour. It got nice and cold above idle and at speeds above 30. But between the 10 and 20, it would not get cold. And the cooling fans were working. He found the problem on the night before Memorial Day. If you know the trouble, if you know what was wrong, you give us a call, and you could be a Tech Tip Quiz winner. Amanda, having to do with the dirt bike racing, I've heard you mention several times having friends in different areas, and Ryder having friends in different areas. It almost sounds like a family. How close is the dirt bike community?
Very close, yeah. So we've had several families that have that we see just about every weekend. Their kids are really good friends with Ryder. I'm sure he'd love to. Ryder, tell us about some of your friends that ride dirt bikes.
Carter, Brindley, and Caden, Wellen, Jack, and Baxley.
There's a lot of them. These are kids that he sees just about every weekend at the tracks. Their parents are extremely helpful, when you're there, you're sharing supplies, food, you're helping maintain each other's bikes. In the 50cc class, these little riders, obviously being on small bikes, sometimes when they're out on a track, they may fall over and their bikes are heavy. They may need help getting back up. So motocross parents are out there at all times trying to help keep the racers going. It's a great community. It's a great family sport, and I would say one of the best out there.
And right now we're talking about dirt bike racing, but of course we've had this show live at drag strips. We've had this show. We've had people that race go-karts on the show, people that build go-karts on the show. And I found that to be the case in a lot of different racing venues, whether it's drag racing, go-kart racing, or whatever. It's almost like a community that kind of helps each other, very close friends, see each other on a regular basis. So I think that's a great environment for children to be in and to have friends that enjoy the things that they enjoy. You ready to go to the calls?
Yes, let's do it.
All right, we're going to run over to the calls real quick. Let's go over to Andy. Andy, welcome to the C&C Auto Show.
Good morning.
Yes, sir.
I want to take a wild guess at the tech tip.
Oh, my goodness. I'm not able to put you on the stage right now, but I'm going to walk you up there without music. I can put you up there, but you won't have the music to go along with it. So I'm going to read the question again. Clay had a Crown Vic that would not get cold at speeds between 10 and 20. Got cold at speeds above 30. Got speeds that got cold at idle, but just not at those other speeds. And he found the problem on the day before Memorial Day. The cooling fans were working, by the way. And Andy, all eyes are on you. What is the answer to today's Tech Tip quiz?
Well, the other thing about Memorial Day, I'm guessing it was something that the computer had, and it's set up on a calendar setup, and then a certain time of the year, it wouldn't let it come on at that speed.
Oh, my goodness. Wow, that's pretty deep now. So the computer, kind of like the 2000, when it turned 2000, the computer has it cut off at that particular time. Wow. That's pretty deep. I'm not
a wild guess.
Yeah, well, I don't have the button, but I'm gonna see if Amanda and Ryder will join in with me, and we don't have an ah button, so we're gonna have to say it together. 1, 2, 3. Ah. Okay, Andy. Good.
Have a blessed weekend.
Thank you very much. You do the same.
Thank you.
Okay, the number to call, 800-224-9090. If you have a question about your car, your truck, your SUV, your dirt bike, or you want to answer the tech tip quiz, you give us a call. And we were talking with Amanda and Ryder. We were talking about dirt bike racing and some of the things that they do when they go to the events. And Amanda, I heard you mention something about camping. Do a lot of people go camping when they go to dirt bike races?
Yeah, you normally want to be at the track. If you live hours away, it can be hard to drive back the same day because the races normally start at 8 a.m. and they'll go to 4 or 5 p.m. So, you have to have usually an enclosed trailer, a toy hauler, or something to that effect to haul the motorcycles and all the tools you need to ride. But often, you have to stay there overnight as well. So you have to have everything you need for camping. Mm-hmm. And you'll see rigs, in the 500, 600K mark in cost. You'll see, some people that just pull up with their bikes in the back of a truck. So you see all sizes of setups there.
Mm-hmm. Ryder, is that part of it fun? You're going camping and dirt bike riding at the same time?
Yeah.
All right. Ryder, do you have a favorite track that you go to, or do you like several different ones? A lot.
I have a bunch of favorite tracks. One of them is Aonia. The next one's Durhamtown, and Gatorback and Diamondback. And Monster Mountain was one of my favorites too. I have a lot of favorite tracks. But
All right.
Yeah, I can't even tell you. He's probably been to about 30 plus tracks total, just, over the years. And most recently, regionals was at Muddy Creek, which is in Blunteville, Tennessee.
Okay. And there's a lot of people here that may be listening that are not from this area. They may be on the West Coast. They may be in the Midwest. But my guess is just about anywhere you go in the U.S., there will be a dirt track or a racetrack somewhere near you. And so if someone's interested in getting into dirt bike racing, they may check around. What's some of the ways? Is there one particular website to go to find more about where you can go to race, or is it just better to just Google racing, dirt bike racing, and find a track and just go visit and meet people there?
Yeah, if we're going to a new area for work or something like that, we'll usually Google MX track to see what's in the area. There's other types of riding that we do for fun, like trail riding. So, you can also search for off-road trails, and you'll usually find some great trail riding for dirt bikes. But yeah, we normally would just search for an MX track. Most of the time anywhere we're going, we'll find some tracks that are within an hour distance that you could visit. So it is nationwide.
All right. So for those listening, if you're interested in dirt bike racing, you may want to join in or just Google search and find someone that will find a track near you. Go visit, get to know some of the people. Or I'm sure Amanda wouldn't mind you emailing her and just saying, "Hey, what's a good way to get involved in dirt track racing?"
I would say, if you're in Georgia, South Carolina, the Durhamtown track is a great place because they have all levels there. And some friends of ours run the races there, the Youngs, and it's just a great family atmosphere.
All right. Well, that's about all for the first race, and it was a lot of fun, but there's more. We have a second race coming up, and even though he's not here, I want to give a big thank you to our show producer, Mason Rogers. Also, thank you to Jason, who's running the soundboard in there, doing a fantastic job, and we hope you found our advice helpful, and we'll be back shortly with more to C&C Auto Show. And we do welcome you back to the C&C Auto Show. I'm your host, Aaron Clements, and on this show we talk about all things transportation, whether you're a car enthusiast, maybe looking for some advice on how to maintain your vehicle, or even just someone that appreciates a good travel story. This show is for you. We'll be covering everything from automotive repairs to electric vehicles, car AC systems. We'll touch on that a good bit. And we would be talking about dirt bike racing. We have Amanda Clements Drake here with us, and she'll be talking about, she'll also be answering some automotive questions, but also she'll be talking about what's involved in being a dirt bike rider's mom and what's involved there. And we also have Ryder Drake here. Ryder is doing very well with racing. As a matter of fact, recently qualified for the Loretta Lynn Ranch race. Ryder, how did that make you feel?
Very exciting and very good.
Yeah, you did good being able to do that. You did very good. And Amanda, that was it was exciting to watch the races. I know you probably jumped up and down during a lot of the races. I know you do. I've seen you.
Yes. I am one of those crazy moto moms on the side yelling. It was a lot of emotions because early on he showed a lot of promise, and then we had a little bit of rough luck and not so great results in the middle, and then he finished out really strong. So it was just ups and downs the whole weekend. but very rewarding when it turns out that he did place in the top 6 in his PW50 class and did qualify for the national race.
Very nice. Okay, ready to go to the calls?
Yes, let's do it.
Right, we're going to go to a phone call. We will go over to James. James, welcome to the C&C Auto Show. What can we help you with?
Let's do 2 things if we can this time around. I have a question about the dirt bike racing business, and I believe you have a tech tip quiz that's going to make it over as a leftover from hour number 1 to hour number 2.
Yes, it is. It will be. We will reach into the refrigerator and pull it back out for hour 2. It's a leftover tech tip quiz. Which one do you want to do first, James?
Let's do bike racing business.
Okay, racing business. Okay. Amanda and Ryder, they're both ready.
Yeah, I've been listening in the first hour, and it sounds like there's probably a threshold that anyone who's spending the time that this family is and the investment in it to where you're going to be looking for sponsorships. How do you hit that plateau? When does that start to help you out? And what's the method for getting into that position of receiving help that way?
Yes, there definitely is a point you reach where sponsorships would be helpful. We have a lot of friends that have started reaching out to local businesses for their racers. And also, as you start winning, if you're using certain products, those brands will start providing you discounts on a lot of the gear that you need, the parts that you need, the tires. For instance, Ryder does receive a sponsorship from Dunlop Tires, as well as FXR gear and riding gear. And things like that are necessary because, yes, our sport is very, very expensive, and sponsorships help. So I think as you, there's websites such as Hook It where you can post, the successes that you've had, and you can make those connections. I would say our industry, or this dirt bike racing in general, is really great and set up well for sponsorships because there's all these ways that you can post how well your racer is doing, and you get the notifications from different brands and different sponsors that would like to help you. So I think you can start doing it at whatever level you need and would want to, and especially as you start having some success at races. Our industry is so great that people start noticing, and they're willing to sponsor and provide those things that you need to keep going. So Ryder's been blessed to have some great sponsors. One of them is 831 Motorsports, which helps set up his PW50 for racing. And like I said, Dunlop Tires, FXR, C&C Automotive. So yes, it definitely helps, and it's definitely necessary.
So
Great question, James.
When you see a business's name on the helmet or the gas tank, you got some help. Unlike a car, where of course you've got a lot of real estate there where you can put a lot of different names, you'll only have room for a few key ones this way.
Yes, yeah. And when we talked about the campsites and the setups at the races and at the tracks, you will see setups that have numerous banners and decals and logos. So you do advertise at the races as well. So when you ride through the pits and everyone's set up, you will see all these businesses and brands that have helped these different riders. So they have the real estate on their bike, which is very limited, like you said, but they also promote the businesses at the races in the pits.
Good. Well, let's hope that successes come and the scouts come find you.
Thank you very much.
And James, did you say that you wanted to answer our tech tip quiz?
Well, I'd like to hear it again and see if I can.
That's exactly what I was hoping to do. All right, Clay had a Crown Vic, and it would not get cold. The AC would not get cold at speeds between 10 and 20 miles per hour. It got nice and cold at idle and at speeds above 30, but the cooling fans were working. He found the problem on the night before Memorial Day. And James, what is the answer to today's Stat Tip quiz?
Okay, so that's the cooling I wanted to clarify. I couldn't tell if it was engine temperature or cabin temperature. So it's cabin temperature.
Mm-hmm.
It's not getting where it needs to be at slow speeds. Cooling fans are working, works at idle. It sounds like there is a blockage of air that the cooling fans can't overcome, because you say they're working. I presume they're working correctly. They're not miswired, wired backwards, anything crazy like that. So you say they're working, so I think we have a blockage in front of the condenser somehow, or between the condenser and the radiator, which is keeping that from processing the air it needs to. And once it gets rolling fast enough, it does get the air. So still not sure why the engine is not hot either. So that's why I'm saying this just might start the real winter down the right road. So I think
James, this is kind of amazing because I'm hoping that you're going to jump back in there one more time because you were all over it. As a matter of fact, you jumped the speed bump and went over things. But the answer that Amanda, I hate to do this because he asked such a great question, but we have to do it. Are you ready?
Yeah, I've heard it before.
You were all over it though, James. You're all over it.
Well, I got one of those cars, and I've had air conditioning problems, but never that one, so I can't answer on experience. But anyway, nice listening to the show. If I get any further and more embellished thoughts, I'll pass on another phone call through.
Oh, thank you very much.
Thank you, James.
Bye-bye, James. Okay, the number to call, 800-224-9090. I'm going to put Ken on the line and let Ken know that we're going to be getting to him as soon as we return because we're going to be taking a real quick break. Ken, welcome to the C&C Auto Show. I am queuing you up.
All right.
Okay, you're going to be holding for us just for a little bit, and we're going to pull over because we just got a yellow flag. They telling us to slow down just for a little bit, and we will be back up to full speed very shortly. So hold on for more of the C&C Auto Show. And we are back with you with the C&C Auto Show. If you have a question about your car, your truck, your SUV, you give us a call, or your dirt bike, give us a call. And dirt bike racing, or any other type of racing. We are here for you. We had Ken on the line with us. Ken, welcome to the C&C Auto Show.
Right. Is the tech tip quiz still good?
Oh, my goodness. Let me find out. Hold on. Yes, it's still open. You must want to answer it. Well, I am going to read the question real quickly. Clay had a Crown Vic that would not get cold at speeds between 10 and 20 miles per hour. It got nice and cold at idle and at speeds above 30. The cooling fans were working. He found the problem on the night before Memorial Day. What was wrong? And Ken, all eyes are on you. What is the answer to today's Tech Tip quiz?
Is it possible that he had the fans replaced recently and they wired them up backwards so the fan was spinning the reverse direction?
Well, why would it get cold at idle, and why would it get cold at higher speeds, and how did he find it during Memorial Day, the day before Memorial Day?
Well, the one at idle fools me a little bit. But
so
maybe it
idle,
doesn't draw enough air in at idle.
So you're saying that if the car wouldn't move, was sitting still, then the fan would actually be pushing air and it could push through the radiator.
Right, but it was going the wrong direction, so it wasn't able to draw enough air.
So when you got up to about 10 miles an hour, the air that was coming through there kind of canceled out the air that was being pushed. So in effect,
it's more forceful.
You didn't have any movement at all between 10 and 20. Does that sound right?
Well, if there was any movement, it wasn't enough.
Oh, Ken, you're being awesome, man. You getting it. You're getting there. Okay, so now, why did he find it on the day before Memorial Day? What happened?
Well, perhaps he was doing some grilling outside with the barbecue, firing the barbecue up to see if it worked.
Oh, my goodness, you're on fire, man. This is amazing. I can't
he just
stand
happened
it.
to have the engine running.
Let's give him a hand. Come on. Woo! All right. Ken, you are the winner of the day's Tech Tip Quiz. You're absolutely right. And Clay's AC will not get cold between speeds of 10 and 20, mainly because the fans were hooked up wrong. It was blowing air out, and he noticed that. Actually, there was somebody set off a smoke bomb for firework deal, and the smoke, he noticed that the car was sitting there idling, and he noticed the smoke was blowing away from the car. He said, that's kind of weird. So it was hooked up backwards. You're absolutely right. You are a winner. You stay on the line, and Jason in there is going to write down all your information.
All right,
and we
thanks
really
a lot, Aaron.
appreciate you calling.
Good job, Ken.
Good job.
All right, there we go. Okay, the number to call, 800-224-9090. Before we go to the next caller, I was going to ask Amanda, what's involved in the layout of a race? How many laps do they run? How do they? I guess the first one across the finish line is the winner, but how is all that determined?
Yeah, so most of them are not necessarily timed. They complete so many laps, and usually it's anywhere from 3 to 5, depending on the length of the track. Most of the motocross tracks you'll see are somewhere around 1.5 miles, maybe 2 miles long. And everybody starts off from a starting gate. Sometimes Ryder will be on the starting gate with 40 bikes. And they usually get a white flag on the last lap and then a checkered flag, which that means the race is done. So wherever you cross the line when that checkered flag is raised is your placement in the race.
And that gets to be contested from time to time because a lot of people are really passionate on who's going to be second, third, especially when something like a ticket to the Loretta Lynn Ranch is at stake. Is that right?
It can get pretty passionate. Most of the time, there's refs that keep an eye on everything, and everybody's really honest in this sport. But if, for instance, a racer cuts the track, that is disqualifies them from the placement, and they'll usually penalize him to some degree. And then, also what might be contested is the bikes themselves. There are AMA, which is the American Motorcyclists Association, has strict rules for any AMA race, which all the Loretta Lynn races are. For each bike class. So, if a bike is performing extremely outside of the normal bike's capabilities, then another racer can ask to have that bike inspected to see if it meets those AMA regulations.
Wow. We'll probably cover that a little bit more later on in the show. Okay, let's go over to Wade. Wade, welcome to the C&C Auto Show. What can we help you with?
Yeah, I got on the phone right before the tech tip question was answered. I heard right at the end of that caller. I was going to just see if I was correct. Was it because he had a OnStar? He was able to use the OnStar to get some help.
Okay. I'm sorry. What? You're listening to a tech tip quiz from last week. I will answer the tech tip quiz from last week, and you were listening to one that said the gentleman was out in the woods with a F-350 and he got stuck in the mud. He got out of the truck and he broke his leg and he needed help. He was a surveyor and he needed help, and his friends were miles away. Is that correct? That was the question?
That was the question.
Okay. Here's what happened, Wade. And first tell me what area you're from. Where are you calling from?
I'm calling from Griffin, Georgia.
Okay, Griffin, Georgia. Okay, here's what happened. This gentleman that was a surveyor that had broke his leg, he also was very good with drones, because a surveyor now, a lot of them use drones to be able to help with the surveying process. His cell phone wouldn't work. So what he did, he had been trying to send a text message. It wouldn't go out because of poor reception. So what he did, he punched in the message real quickly, and then he tied his phone to his drone. He flew the drone up to about 100 foot, and then the message sent out because it was able to get reception with it being that high up. And so then he let the drone back down with the phone connected to it. He read it. It said message sent. So he waited a little bit, and boom, his friends showed up and helped him, and he got it. Was that was that what you needed?
Well, that was one thing I was going to talk about. Was also I used to be a technical instructor at the local college, and just about everything that the instructor was talking about in that show is the same thing we cover our students. The basic stuff like, check for power bands, always check your fuses first. I always say this, and I always say my name. I would say, remember, always take this for your whole life. Always remember, check your fuses first.
Yeah.
So we would do that like, that was another thing I would always try to, something like sometimes I was saying fuel pumps gets changed out, and all it was the relay. Then it's the other way around. You've got the relay that doesn't get replaced, and then it will fail usually. Sometimes.
Wait, I'm going to put you on hold just for a little bit.
We're going to tell people, I sure can.
Wait, we're going to pull over just for a second. We got a hard break here, and because you brought up some great points, and I want to address those, so we'll be right back just after this. And we're back with you with the C&C Auto Show. I'm Aaron Clements here with Amanda and Ryder. We're back on the track, ready to answer your automotive questions, your dirt bike racing questions, any racing and performance question. Also, if it's Saturday morning between 8 and 10 Eastern Time, you give us a call at 800-224-9090. That's 800-224-9090. We were talking with Wade in Griffin, Georgia. Wade, welcome back to the show, and you brought up some great points. When somebody's working on their own vehicle, start with the simple stuff. Check the fuses, check the relays, and all the simple things before you get into something really complex. Does that sound right?
That is correct. That is totally true.
Yeah.
And what I usually always tell my students also is most of the time when you have a air conditioning unit that fails, I always tell or a fuel pump, either one, go ahead and replace the relay at the same time. That way, both of them are replaced. They're going to be, there's no time on them. So then that also comes from having comebacks also.
Exactly. Yeah, a lot of times a person may not understand. You go in and replace their compressor, and you do a lot of work to the vehicle. You get the AC working perfectly, and then a week or two later, or even a month later, the AC stops working again, regardless if it was something to do with what you did or a relay. The fact is it don't work anymore. That's all they know. So if you can eliminate that chance of something like that happening by just putting another relay in there, that's a great idea. And plus, a failing compressor sometimes can put an extra load on a relay. So yes, I agree with that also. Excellent point.
Anyway, I listen to you on the WKU in Griffin.
And
that's I listen to your show every Saturday.
Well, let's. I want to tell them thank you for playing the show, and thank you for listening to the show also. We appreciate it.
Oh, you're welcome. It's good to talk to you.
Thank you. Same here. Okay, the number to call, 800-224-9090 if you have a question about your car, truck, your SUV, or racing. And, Amanda, we were talking about the layout of the tracks and some of the things as far as how the racing is concerned. Now, you mentioned that they have to win a certain number of races before they can move on to the national race. Now, what determines, is there a person that you would look at and say, that person is the top rider in that particular class for the country, or is that more regional? How does that work?
Well, in addition to the Loretta Lynn qualifiers, there's several series going on just in the Southeast. Ryder actually currently is leading a couple series himself, like the Mega Series in his bike class, his main bike class of PW50. So, but there's MXSports.com actually lists the rankings for all the Loretta Lynn qualifying races. So if you go on there, it will give the results, and you can type in a racer's name and you can see the races that they've won or how they've placed. So you're very easily able to see the top riders around the U.S.
Mm-hmm.
And Loretta Lynn races are one of the bigger, more prestigious races for sure. But at the same time, there's a ton of different series, especially in the Southeast. And the Southeast is one of the biggest areas for riding dirt bikes by far, and motocross. Obviously, the Loretta Lynn's ranch is in Tennessee in the Southeast. So you're going to find the most series here. You're going to find some of the harder races here. But so you can go to the sites for these series, and you can also spot who's leading different classes, and that tells you, who the main riders are right now in each class. And Ryder's main class is the PW50 cc shaft-driven class 4 to 6. So he will age out of this class at the end of the year, and he'll have to go to a higher class at that point, a 7 to 8 50 cc class.
Ryder, when you during the course of racing, I realized one of the recent races that you went on, there was a lot of mud. Is it a lot more difficult to race when the track is muddy? Do you get bogged down more, or do more people fall during a muddy race?
It's harder in mud because you get stuck in, especially on the P-dubs, you don't get that very much speed because you're in the mud, and it's hard to get up the slick hills and through all that mud.
Yeah.
But it is fun. It's fun.
Yeah, it's fun, but it's hard.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, ready to go to the calls?
Yes.
All right, here we go. Let's go over to Linda. Linda, welcome to the C&C Auto Show, and what can we help you with?
I have some squeaky brakes. Good morning.
Good morning.
My house is on, and out of my driveway, I have to apply the brakes, and they squeal. Well, it's more like a high pitch when I play.
Wow. Do that one more time, Linda. What did that? What was that again? Oh, so yours is going. Okay,
yes.
We got it. We're on it. Linda, what type vehicle is this?
It's a 2021 Ford Escape.
Oh, okay. All right. It's coming from. Ryder's over here laughing. Okay. Now,
We give everybody a good laugh this morning.
how many miles is on this vehicle?
2,800. 28,167.
Very low miles. Okay, Linda, I'm going to mention that it's very, very doubtful that the brakes are going to be bad. That's low mileage for that vehicle. On the brakes, they normally go a lot longer. Now, I would have them inspected, and they can do that during a routine service, like when you're having your oil changed and your tires rotated. They can just look at your brake pads very closely to make sure they're safe. But if it only does it, if it only did it then and does not do it real often, and mainly only does it under certain conditions, like sometimes a vehicle might take moist, damp air, and everything's cold, and then it'll squeak a couple of times and not squeak anymore after that for the rest of the day. And if you drive it on a regular basis, not squeak at all. If it's one of those type cases where it's not bothering you drastically, high probability all you're going to need is just somebody to look at the brakes while you're doing your normal routine oil change. Make sure that they're okay. And if they are, use your judgment. If they're not bothering you that bad, just because they squeaking don't necessarily mean that they're bad or that they're unsafe. It might just be, an example of that would be a wiper blade. You might have a wiper blade that cleans the windshield real good, but every now and then makes a little bit of a squeaky noise. And you may say, well, it just does it sometime. It cleans the windshield good. Your brakes can be the same way. They can be good, they can be safe, but they can make a little bit of noise at times. And then you can use your judgment on if it bothers you enough to get brake work done. To make it stop, you would need a front brake job, most likely, or a brake job, either front or rear, most likely. But my guess is the technician's going to come back and say, no, your brake pads are fine. You can drive it, but if you want it repaired, you would have to do the work to it. So that's what my guess is going to be wrong. That actually there's nothing wrong with the vehicle, just making some noise.
Okay. All right, thank you so much, because it does it every time when I go in reverse.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, if it's every time you go in reverse, you might decide to do it. If it's just when the brake pads are cold, then you may not. But use your judgment. Can you make the noise for me one more time? Because
If you say
please.
Please.
Here we go.
Oh my goodness, you guys are wonderful. I needed that. I needed a laugh today.
Well, I thought you were going to do it one more time.
Oh, but that was part of the praise, but when it went,
Hey, Linda, thank you.
Thank you, Linda. Bye-bye.
We appreciate the call. Okay, the number to call, 800-224-9090. We'll be right back after this. And we're back with you on the C&C Auto Show. If you got a question about your car, your truck, your SUV, you give us a call. Number is 800-224-9090. We have Amanda and Ryder here, and they are answering either automotive questions or dirt bike racing questions. And let's go over to William. And William, welcome to the C&C Auto Show. What can we help you with? Hello, William. All right, William. Yeah, I got you now.
Okay, this is about the lady that called in about the squeaking brakes,
Yes,
and one
absolutely.
thing that you didn't suggest is sometimes when those brakes make that noise, and the brake could be not worn out, it could be a good disc, shoe or whatever, but the grease that goes behind that brake pad on those disc brakes, that keeps it quiet. A lot of times that grease will dry out, and that would make it squeak. Nothing's wrong with the brakes or the rotors or the drums. It's just that squeak from that no lubrication between those two metal parts that's touching. I'm just putting that out there.
Well, that's always good. And William, that's fantastic that you call in and that's what the show's all about, sharing ideas. And I think that's great. Yeah, that's Brake Quiet is one name that they put on it. But yes, that is something to do. Now, normally, if a car's got a brake noise like that, it could be that. It could be the compound of the brake pads. Could be some moisture's got in the pads. But if I'm gonna go ahead and take them off, I'm gonna go ahead and put new ones on and put the stuff that you're talking about on there. Because you got to take the pads off to do them, so you might as well go ahead and put new pads on if you were going to try that. But that is a great point. Absolutely.
Just throwing it out there.
And we appreciate it, too.
All right, y'all have a good one, man. I enjoy this show. Listen to it all the time.
And we thank you for that. Bye-bye, William. Okay, the number to call is 800-224-9090. We'll go over to Tom. And Tom, welcome to the C&C Auto Show. What can we help you with?
Yeah, I got a 2006 GMC standard cab pickup.
Uh-huh.
And I got a problem with the fan. You know, it's a 5-speed fan, a rotary control fan, and it keeps going out on the 4th speed.
Uh-huh.
And I put 3 those resistor relays for the fan speed on, and it'll work a while, and then number 4 goes out.
Okay.
I can't figure it out.
Well, usually when one of the resistors goes out in one particular area, it's got high resistance in that area. It's pulling too much amperage through that particular circuit, and there's 2 things that can cause that. One would be if there's a loose connection on any of the wiring. So I would look closely at the wiring harness to see if any of those wires have gotten hot. And it's not uncommon to pull the harness off and see one of them looking darker than the others and having a more of a burnt look. Uh-huh.
Right, and well, I replaced, you know, they upgraded that, the gauge of that harness.
Uh-huh.
And, but I know about that.
Now, the other thing that can happen is the blower motor itself pulling more amperage than it should. And so,
I got you.
And now you got one other little thing there. Now, you mentioned that you put a new resistor on there, right? And one thing I've learned over the years is new means new. It don't necessarily mean good. So you could, if you've been buying the same brand of resistor over and over again, they may have had a weak point in that resistor when they build it. So you may just be getting bad resistors. So I would recommend looking closely at the wiring. You can measure the resistance in the blower motor, but is this the original blower motor, or have you replaced it at all?
No, I haven't replaced it.
I would consider, since that resistor, the length of time that it lasts is directly related to the resistance value, and the blower motor is what is causing higher resistance, lower resistance. I would go ahead and put a new blower motor on it and look at the wiring very close.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, I appreciate that.
Well, we thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Have a great day. Okay, the number to call, 800-224-9090. And Amanda, I know that all PW50s are not created equal. There's some that have been hit with some booster shots. What's some of the things that that people might do to a PW50, either engine-wise or bike-wise, that can make them go faster?
Well, as far as what's out there, you know, I won't get into a lot of that because there's so many things. I mean, you can even essentially turn it into a 65. But I can talk about what you can do to get a PW50 ready for an AMA race. You know, some of the things that they'll do is they'll go in and put new gaskets, new piston
Now, you're talking
rings.
about the things you can do legally.
Yes, I guess that's the best way to put it. Yeah, the things that you're allowed to do.
Okay.
And the racer still be qualified to race on it. So, you know, you're going to replace all of those items. You're obviously going to put new tires on it. You're going to make sure, you know, all the bearings are the best bearings you can get and move freely. And you're going to tune the carburetor so that you get just the right mixture of fuel going into the engine. And so usually if you're a serious racer, you often hire someone that specializes in that to go in and get a bike ready. So when it comes to PW50s, we use 831 Motorsports. Chase there. Make sure that Ryder's bike is ready for every race.
Well, he must have did something right because Ryder did really good.
Yes, yeah. I think he gave Ryder the best chance with, you know, prepping it for the race for him and made it as fast as it could be. And then, Ryder, just on those PW50s, especially in the mud, you just have to keep it full throttle the whole time. And so Ryder was really good at that part. You have someone like Chase modify the bike or just get the bike ready for racing every time if you can.
Ryder, when you were driving this bike and they mentioned that, hey, it might be good to keep this full throttle, did you ever want to back off but said, no, I'm going to hold it there?
Yeah, I'd done that once.
Yeah.
Once or twice.
Yeah. And in the mud, just holding it full throttle, you just make it. That sends you on through the mud and makes you go fast. Is that right?
Yeah.
All right. Sounds like you really enjoy this, Ryder. You really enjoy riding the dirt bike.
Yeah, it's very fun.
Yeah. And you're getting better and better at it as you go. And Ryder, we'll be leading out in a second, but I want to tell you congratulations on doing such a fantastic job on riding these bikes. I want to also mention anyone else, if they're interested in bikes, get involved. It's a great sport, and we'll be back next week with more of the C&C Auto Show.